Hey College and Career Success, this is your video for week 7, which means we are so close to being done with our summer semester already. So I wanted to go ahead and jump in and go over the information that'll be in week 7 for you. So week 7 is going to run from July 13th through July 19th. I'm going to click in here and you'll see that we're in chapter 6. There are only 7 chapters total. So again, we're wrapping things up here, almost finished with the textbook. So you'll see we're in chapter 6 and I'll go over the PowerPoint here shortly. And then your list of assignments. So if you get into your materials folder, you'll see the outcomes that you're supposed to be talking about in this chapter, and then there are the chapter slides. So I'm going to pull that up. All right, so creating an academic plan is kind of the key point that the chapter begins with. And one of the things is knowing who your advisor is and connecting with that person, as well as maybe establishing a mentor on campus, because these are the people who are going to really help you kind of network, but also know how to navigate your career path here at the college and then beyond. So if you don't know who your advisor is, please make sure you check it out. Here's where you could go. In My Stark State, if you go to the My Stuff tab, scroll down to My Academic Plan, it's going to open up to something that looks like this. This is a great scheduling tool, but you'll see at the top, it'll say who your advisor is, and it'll give you their email address. Some of you may have 1 or 2 listed there, just kind of depends on where you are at in your credits along here at the college, but that's a great place to kind of find out who your advisor is. This is going to tie in with some of the other ideas from chapter 6. This is also a great scheduling tool because it's going to make sure, first of all, make sure that your degree is listed correctly, your major, all your information is correct, because this is going to determine, what classes you're going to be allowed to register for. If this is wrong, your major and everything, the rest of the form is going to be wrong. It'll have your test scores. It'll show you how far along you are in your degree progress. So it kind of measures, you're 15%, you're 30%, let you know how you're doing. It'll tell you your GPA, your catalog year, and all of that. But then down here, you can see I'm using, this is actually my brother's, who gave me permission years ago to use his as an example. So you can see that anything, his are all finished since he already graduated, but anything with the green check, you've completed already. Anything that is like a blue squiggly line, it's what you're currently working on, and then outlined in red, so like he has like one example that it wasn't relevant, but that's what it will look like if you still need that class. So that'll help you kind of determine, here are the classes I still need to take. So it's a nice scheduling tool, and it'll go through the class name, the abbreviations, the credits, and all of that. So I wanted to point that out as I was talking about chapter 6 with knowing who your advisor is, who your mentor is, to help you, get your career path, but also network after you leave this institution. Also knowing your program requirements, what courses do you have to take in order to graduate? So that's where, again, MAP comes in, knowing what classes you have to take. Also, if you go to the Stark State homepage, at the very top of the page, under academics, you find what area you're going into. And I think we talked about this before, but this is just a quick review. If you're, for example, I just clicked on health. A lot of these pages look very similar. It'll give you some information. And then toward the bottom of the page, there's specific fields. You can click on whatever field you're going into. Again, more information, but then if you click on courses, you can pull up your program plan. And this is another way of saying, here's all the classes you're going to need to take. Now, it doesn't track it, obviously, like your MAP does, where it'll have like the check marks once you're finished, but this will at least tell you what classes, how many credits, the prerequisites for each of those classes. So that's a nice resource to have as well. So knowing your program requirements, and then in your field, are you going to have to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctorate? And that's part of your final project also, knowing like the career steps. So that's where that comes in also. So this, again, kind of goes off that, knowing your degree requirements, how many credits, how many, do you have to take electives, how many core classes do you have to take. Part also of knowing your career path, your academic career path, is the difference of online courses. Obviously, right now, we are all online, but generally that's not going to be the case every semester. So knowing kind of your options with online learning, we have asynchronous and synchronous. So right now, you all are in an asynchronous online course. You can complete your assignments at any time of the day, meaning that someone could be working at 3 a.m. while someone else could be working at 2 p.m. later that day, and then there'll still be certain due dates. And then synchronous is what we have at our college called Web 4, where instead of meeting in person, you log in and everyone is logged in at the exact same time, the exact same day. Also, part of some of the program plans is experiential learning. So if there's an internship connected with your field, like if you are in a particular field that has internships, co-ops, student teaching, shadowing, whatever that might be, those are great ways to kind of marry content to real life experience, and that looks great on your resume and can really enforce what you're going over in the classroom. So that's the first part of Chapter 6, talking about kind of that planning part and understanding the requirements and what's going on in your field. The next part of the chapter talks about networking and the importance and power of networking as it relates to your career path. So networking is just establishing and maintaining those personal and professional relationships. There's that phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, obviously it's important to know your stuff, but who you know can also get you that foot in the door so you can demonstrate what it is that you know. So networking is who you know, who knows you, and then what you know. So all of that ties together. And one of those ways you can do that in a common way currently in today's climate is online. And so you want to have that professional presence. So if you do have a lot of social media sites, if you have your own Twitter page or, whatever the case is, remember those are viewable. Even if you have your settings to private, oftentimes employers can navigate around that. So you want to make sure that you are presenting yourself in a professional way, and there are professional social media sites such as LinkedIn. So you want to make sure that you have that professional online presence. And there's some research done that says that, if you were interviewing someone, why have you not hired them, or what would make you not hire them as it relates to social media? And so this is kind of showing like, okay, if you have inappropriate pictures or you put, disrespectful things about a previous employer or a coworker, if you do not have qualifications, a lot of that is social media related. So you want to just make sure that you are presenting yourself in a professional way online. So there are some tips on how to do that. Make sure that your privacy settings are set so it's harder to access that stuff. Making sure that you have a professional photo and email address, real story, guys. I had a student years ago, his email address was pole dancer like 01 or something like that. And the reason he had that was because he was a firefighter. He was in the firefighting field, and so he thought pole dancer would be funny. Now, obviously, when an employer reads the line pole dancer, they may not automatically think of a firefighter. So you just want to have like a professional email address. You want to make sure that you have kind of professional presence with those pictures. If you are on Twitter or LinkedIn, you're following people in your field who are professional. So those are just some tips on how to have that professional presence. Also, part of the kind of networking, so to speak, is to have an elevator speech. And this is something that is, short and sweet. So it's like 30 seconds to a minute. So like a paragraph of kind of who you are. It's a real quick. So if you're at like a networking or like a job fair and someone says, okay, tell me about yourself, you're not sitting there like, I don't know. You have it in your proverbial back pocket. You can say, my name is, Linda Remark. I attended blank, universities. My degree is in this. My goals are this. So you really just want to wrap yourself up in, 30 seconds to a minute, short and sweet, kind of a sales pitch so that you can have that ready to go. So you're not kind of stumbling around on what to say. So your chapter will talk more about elevator speeches. Other ways to expand your network. Networking is really powerful. So volunteering, going to events on campus, joining clubs and organizations, attending different things that are connected to your field, all of those can help you. And that's also where your mentor and your advisor come in to help you strengthen your network as well. And then there's also some job search tips they'll talk about, and how you get your resume kind of buffed up, so to speak, making sure that you don't use the same resume every single time. You can tweak it and customize it based on the job you're going for. You want to look at, see like the verbs being used, the qualifications, and really put that in there. This is also another plug for, back at the college homepage, if you scroll all the way down, career services. So going into their website and looking and seeing, hey, how can I help with my job search and resume tips? What things can I do? Can I make an appointment with career services and have them look at my resume and give me some suggestions? So those are ways that you can help as well. And then the last part of chapter 6 talks about financial planning and the importance of, making sure that as a student, you are taking these steps to set yourself up for financial stability moving forward. So knowing how to finance your education, take advantage of as many scholarships and grants as you can before you go right to loans. And again, this is another Stark State homepage. We're going to go to admissions. We're going to go paying for college. We're going to go scholarships. So again, this is just another reminder, apply. Even if it takes you an hour and it gets you $500. I mean, who wouldn't want to work 1 hour and get $500? So here's some scholarship information. It goes into depth about all the different kind of scholarships. There's the application itself. Look how quick it is. And that can put you in the lot for a bunch of different kind of scholarships. So there's the scholarship list if you wanted to look through and see, okay, well, I'm in this field, so maybe I can get an education scholarship. Or if you fall into one of these categories, okay, I'm a veteran. So you can look there. And there's also external scholarships that might have a little different qualifications for things. So look into those scholarships, because obviously the more scholarships you get, the less you have to pay back later. So pay attention to that. And then your chapter also talk about the return on investment, how your college education, you really are investing in yourself and you're getting a higher rate on your return because you have the likelihood to make more money after you get your degree. And then there's tips on how to establish good credit. And if you don't have any credit at all, how to start establishing good credit. So it'll give you tips on, make sure you pay your bills on time, how to get your credit card, knowing your credit score, budgeting correctly so you're avoiding debt, and knowing that you should use logic over emotions when it comes to financial purposes. I also wanted to point out, if you go to, even just Google free credit estimator, if you don't know what your credit score is, after all the ads, I would recommend using this one, the estimator from MyFICO. You can do this without giving any personal information. It's really just going to ask you a series of questions, and you're not even giving your name, social, nothing. And after you ask, it's 10 questions. After you answer those 10 questions, it'll give you a range of what your credit score is, so you kind of have an idea if you don't know already. So that is the content of chapter 6. So I encourage you to, spend some time looking at the PowerPoint, getting into the text, maybe in a particular section that you thought you need more help on or you want to learn more about. So that is the chapter 6 content. All right. Now let's get into what you're doing for this week assignment-wise. Let's go to the assignments. Okay. Chapter 6 discussion. So chapter 6 focuses on networking. So your discussion, again, 250 words. Some of you are still posting 100 words. And the reason I keep stressing this is because, in your college comp, your academic writing, your psychology, whatever the case might be, a lot of those classes have word or page maximums or that you have to hit, maximums, minimums, that you have to hit, and you have to be aware of those. And so 250 words is the one for this class. Everyone who takes this class has to kind of follow those guidelines. So through chapter 6, the discussion, you go in, you create your thread. Here is your prompt. It says, share a personal example. If you can't think of a personal one, someone you know personally, or maybe even someone in the media, about how networking can lead to career opportunities. How have you or someone you know used networking to get a job? Keep in mind that although you may not know someone directly, you might talk to someone who knows someone. So you might have to kind of just think about it, talk to a parent, talk to a family member, and say, hey, have you ever networked, or has anyone ever gotten you a job through who you know? And you can talk about LinkedIn. And when I say networking, I'm not necessarily just talking about social networking unless you're using social networking to get a job. So one example, I had a student who was going into photography, and she would post her pictures of her photos on Facebook. And through doing that, she would get people who would say, hey, I know so-and-so who needs a photographer for their wedding. And they would get jobs that way. And then eventually people would know her and knew her name. That is one way that social networking can help you with professional networking. Using Facebook just to post posts is not an example of networking in the way we're talking about it here. So just be careful kind of how you use that example. Make sure that you're truly using the example of networking if you use like Twitter or Facebook or something like that. All right, so that's your discussion post. And your Chapter 6 discussion for week 7 attendance is due Wednesday, July 15th. So make sure you post by Wednesday, July 15th. All right, next one is still focused on networking. And this is normally something I do like a fun little activity in class, but we had to adapt it for our online purposes. So you'll download this document here. It's going to pull up this right here. And it's going to talk about networking in relation to specifically something called the 3 Ps. It says you expect me to do what? Talk to people. So it's going to talk about what networking is, how you network, and the 3 Ps as it relates to networking and preparing for even like leading up to like job interviews. So it's going to talk about what you do to prepare, what you do to practice, and what you do to pull yourself together. So you're going to read more about those. Those are the 3 Ps as they relate to networking. And then it's going to give you a scenario. So here's our scenario about Pradeep. And it's going to go through, and it's just a couple paragraphs here. You're going to go through and read this scenario. And then you'll see down here, there are questions relating to the 3 Ps. So you can kind of go back and forth if you need to, print it out, whatever. And you're going to look and see, what did he do in relation to preparing, relation to practicing, relation to pulling himself together. So the first part is relation to that scenario. What did he do in all of these scenarios? The second part is relating it to yourself. Think about you in a future networking or career interview situation, or maybe you've already gone through this, and so you can use previous experience. How did you prepare? How did you practice? How did you pull yourself together? So really on these, like a sentence per each one will do. So total, maybe 6 sentences. 1 sentence for each of these, and then 1 sentence for each of these. And then you will save it, browse your computer, and attach it. Okay, so that'll be due Sunday the 19th. Here's your Chapter 6 quiz. So hopefully you're pretty on to this by now. The main thing is, again, some of you are only answering in 1 or 2 words. You're not answering in complete sentences. Remember, because we are online and you have more time than you would in like a class setting, where in class you would only have like maybe 30 to 40 minutes to take a quiz like this. You have more time at home, so I grade it more kind of thoroughly, and that's why I keep asking for 2 to 5 sentences, because you have more time and access to resources. So answer the questions. Some of them are straightforward, like what are the pros and cons of online learning? And then question 2 has 2 parts. What is service learning? What are the benefits of service learning? So some of them have, like number 5, there's 2 parts. So pay attention to the ones that have 2 parts. Number 7, number 8, number 10, all of those have 2 parts. So pay attention, make sure you address all parts of the questions, respond in 2 to 5 sentences total. And then again, you will attach and turn in. That is also due July 15th. I'm sorry, July 19th. Sunday, July 19th. The last thing you're doing is your college resource reflection. It's My Stark State. So I know that sounds a little strange, but the reason I included this is because a lot of students will log into My Stark State and go immediately to My Stuff, and that's all they ever do in there. So for this college resource reflection, I'm encouraging you to click around into all of My Stark State. Click at the Home tab, find out what RAVE is, go to the academic support and see what is included in there, see what kind of information you can find there. Go to the help desk and see the areas that you could find there. There's like different help questions, there's different computing things in there. So it's just my way of kind of encouraging you to go in and not just go right to my stuff. Although you can certainly explore my stuff if you're not as familiar with it. So that's what you're doing for your reflection. So paragraph on, again, I don't need you to tell me in the My Stuff tab, here's what is found. In the academic, I have that as well. I can click around. What did you find helpful? What did you focus on? What did you discover that was new? All right, so this is chapter 6. So chapter 6 discussion. Post your original response by Wednesday, July 15th. Respond to 2 classmates by Sunday, July 19th. So some of you are forgetting to go back in and respond. Remember, that takes the place of what we would normally kind of have like a face-to-face conversation. That's what you're doing with these discussion forums. So original response for week 7 attendance by Wednesday, July 15th. Responded to classmates by Sunday the 19th. This is also due Sunday the 19th, your networking assignment. Your chapter 6 quiz is also due Sunday, July 19th. And your college resource reflection is due Sunday, July 19th. So that's what you are turning in for week 7. I will be posting a separate video reviewing your final project. Just as a reminder, I have a whole folder, go down here, of just your final project videos. So at this point, I've already uploaded all the steps. I'll probably just do a couple-minute video like refreshing your memory and reviewing the expectations so that you have that. One last thing is I will be reopening week 2 for just July 17th, 18th, 19th for anyone to make up work from that week. Hopefully you have already taken advantage of, or you will take advantage of, depending on when this video is viewed by you, of week 1 opening. I reopened week 1 in a previous week so that you can make up those points. I'm now reopening week 2. Remember, week 8 is our final week, and some of you could kind of use some of those makeup points from weeks 1 and 2, so please take advantage whenever I do that so that you can get those points made up. All right, I believe that is everything. Hope everyone has a great week. Bye.